Hello everybody, good day, kia ora, buenos dias, konnichiwa. My name's Glenn and here is part 2 of Club Rugby in Southern Hemisphere and Asia, looking at key countries' domestic setups. Now, the 2019 calendar was a complex mix of international and domestic tournaments running over and around each other at amateur and professional levels. Starting with Super Rugby, which runs into the July test window and dominates all else in the 4 countries, and is rapidly followed by SANZAAR's Rugby Championship, which itself crowds out the flagship tournaments of Currie Cup, Mighty 10 Cup and Australia's National Rugby Championship. The World Cup compressed the second half of the season, where already the Pacific Nations Cup, Africa Cup, which was cancelled and replaced with a smaller Victoria Cup, as well as Nations Cup, Sth America A, Under-20s and Argentina's long amateur season were all fighting for space. So plenty of conflict and much of it unavoidable, but with a little rejigging of key countries' timings or tournaments, there are spaces we can free up to make things run more smoothly for players and administrators and for fans and broadcasters. Now, starting off with a look at domestic rugby in New Zealand and Australia, New Zealand's provincial unions run their club comps from March during Super Rugby, but the national under-85s, Auckland's Gallagher Shield, Wellington's Johnsonville's Titanium, Canterbury's Metro, etc. all finish in July latest, before the Mighty 10 Cup NPC starts in August, with 7 Premiership and 7 Championship teams playing 10 games each before the semi-final and finals. Alongside that, the Amateur Heartland Champs and also the Jock Hobbs Under-19 tournament take place. In Australia, the calendar is similar, though Shute Shield, Queensland Premier, ACT's John R. Dent Trophy can run into mid-August, meaning the NRC runs a shorter 9-week comp for 7 Australian franchises and the Fiji Drua, while Division 2 runs a 4-day comp for the smaller unions, and the Under-19 Rugby Championship now runs for a week in October, replacing the 6-week Super Under-20s. However, the NRC is a lesser event after the long club season, and Rugby Australia might consider adjusting the balance of club and professional rugby, extending the NRC to give those 200-odd players more high-level, intense competition than the semi-pro Shute Shield or amateur Queensland Premier offers over 22 weeks. A different option might be to make more of the Sydney vs Queensland Premier's Club Championship and give the best 10 or 20 clubs across Australia a chance to test themselves in a national comp, with established club teams and their fans rather than composite teams in the NRC. However, the existing calendar shows a good alignment of amateur and professional comps, though, as I said, Australia's offers a bit less for their professional level beneath Super Rugby as things stand. In summary, New Zealand's setup works well for the players, I believe. Australia could perhaps gain more visibility nationwide via the club game with its established fan bases, though each have good player pathways. In South Africa, I feel the Currie Cup has suffered a lack of focus over the years, and there's been a huge drop in average attendance during 5 format changes in 8 years, with varying teams in double round robins, X and Y section cross pools and single round robins, resulting in the Premier Division's paltry 21-game regular season today, before semis and a final. Returning to the most popular Premier Division format of strength versus strength, where the top 6 unions all play each other home and away, almost doubles the number of home games per team, maximising attendances and increasing broadcaster and sponsor interest. The remaining 8 unions in the First Division could include Limpopo in a single round-robin tournament before playoffs with the bottom side in the Premier Division for a top-tier spot the next season. The Vodacom Cup, or now Rugby Challenge, running during Super Rugby, though, is more of a distraction for the Super Rugby franchises, having to prepare 2 separate teams each weekend. And I think South Africa Rugby would be better served giving more air to club rugby, both for more player development pathways and for social cohesion. The existing amateur structures are well established, though only the Varsity Cup gets decent airtime on TV. This is a fantastic development route for university players into professional rugby, though it runs almost 3 months and the bottom 2 teams don't take much from it except regular heavy losses. A shorter 9-week comp for the top 14 sides only would work better, running alongside the equally important but overlooked Gold Cup for the top 20 non-university clubs, playing where possible Saturday curtain raisers for the South Africa leg of Super Rugby, bringing top club rugby onto bigger stages. Following these, the regular club seasons can begin in April, with minor restructures reducing some unions' top leagues to 10 teams max for an 18-game double round robin to finish by the end of July, when the 15 provincial champions qualify for the next season's Gold Cup, along with the existing champion, the champions of Zimbabwe and Namibia, and 2 other wildcards to make 20. From August, while top club players join the Currie Cup unions, the under-21 champions can run for the 6 Currie Cup Premier Division teams, followed by the under-19, under-20 championships combined into one under-19 tournament, preparing that year's intake for the following year's World Under-20 Championships. All 14 unions plus Limpopo's under-19s could be aligned into 3 regional pools of 5 for 4 matches each before the top 8 enter the knockouts, finishing before the Currie Cup final in late October. In this way, the domestic season has a better alignment with professional rugby and space for grassroots clubs to flourish and provide alternative routes in professional rugby for non-university players. We restore the prestige of the Currie Cup with a longer comp, allowing more top players' involvement either side of the Rugby Championship. Simpler club and age group tournaments with more visibility for undiscovered players and coaches to progress. And a better clarity in the calendar for broadcasters and fans. With player participation almost doubling in 5 years, South American rugby's potential is very strong. And based on extensive roots that amateur rugby holds in Argentina, maintaining that culture will help to avoid overstretching the emerging professional setup across the continent. Starting in March, Argentina's 7 regional torneos, the Torneo del Interior and the Torneo de la Urba, comprise almost 200 amateur clubs and culminate in the Nacional de Clubes in October-November. Buenos Aires has been the traditional centre for Argentina's rugby, with around half of all clubs and players in the country involved in the local torneo, where top club derbies can pull in crowds of up to 10,000 or more, like this 2019 top 12 final between San Isidro and Belgrano here, and there's another stand on this side of the pitch with just as many spectators. For an amateur sport, this is a great indication of its grassroots strength. Other countries' campeonatos, Brazil's Super 8 and Colombia Super 20 are smaller, the growth there is rapid, and these countries are now edging up the world rankings. And the new professional Superliga Americana de Rugby tournament is a great first step to professionalism for them, though Argentina Sabos is well ahead of the other teams in player quality, and only one team from Argentina is just not enough. The Pladares or high-performance centers, where Jaguares and Sabos are located, also exist in Rosario, Mendoza and Tucumán, where adding new franchises over time would allow SLAR to become the local center of player development and retention, instead of losing out to European leagues. A new Buenos Aires team, alongside the Jaguares, combined with the other 5 countries' existing teams, would in time provide a continuous supply of over 300 professional players, coaches and administrators in South America, and give broadcasters and fans a growing variety of options to engage with. The calendar can retain all amateur formats in all countries, with a clear regional pathways for players via campeonatos and torneos into the professional SLAR and Super Rugby setup. So, we maintain the culture of grassroots rugby traditions, provide more pathways for development, and achieve complementary professional and amateur structures. And finally, Japan, where the JRFU already announced the 16-club top league will change for the 21-22 season, though they've yet to confirm how. Teams are normally split in 2 pools of 8, playing 7 games before 3 playoff rounds for all teams, but that's just 10 matches. 2020's new 15-game round robin would have been more games, but just as many one-sided matches between top and bottom sides. A reshape into 14 clubs split into 2 divisions instead, and running a double round robin eliminates the 60 to 90 point cricket scores there are today, and brings more competitive matches between evenly balanced teams, with promotion and relegation playoffs to further improve Japan's rugby standard, as well as growing fans and broadcasters' interests. The Top Challenge League could pick up the extra 2 teams and also run a double round robin over 18 weeks, before promotion and relegation playoffs, and the Top League Cup would run as today with 4 pools of 6, playing 5 games before semis and a final. Now, selecting 14 clubs in the top league isn't as simple as dropping the bottom 2, since the 2020 season was cut after only 6 games. So taking the average performance over 5 years of 19 different teams that played the top league, the best 7 and next 7 records of clubs still in the league this season is the fairest way. Kintetsu Liners and Toyota Shuttles were relegated the last 2 seasons, so they'd be cut, as well as the Hino Red Dolphins and Mitsubishi and Coca-Cola Red Sparks. Splitting these 14 into Divisions 1 and 2 and adding the locations, then the cross-division local rivalries can be seen, with many teams from Tokyo, Chiba, Shizuoka and Ota in central and eastern Japan, and teams from Nagoya, Suzuka, Kobe, Osaka or Fukuoka in the west and south. In this way, the top league keeps the local rivalries, but drives the league's competitiveness with fewer mismatches of top and bottom teams. Now, to replace the hole in the calendar where Super Rugby was, Japan would be an ideal location for a new tournament format similar to cricket's IPL or Big Bash League, shaking up the status quo of professional rugby with a JPL, creating 7 or 8 city-based franchises in a 2-month round robin with a grand final, with squads of local players and internationals, adjusted numbers of players per team and point scoring to drive new attack and defence tactics, and experimental law variations around scrums, touch kicks and red cards. More specifics in a separate video to come soon. So, Japan's domestic season kicks off in July-August, as usual, with a longer top league, followed by the Top League Cup in Japan in January-February, before the new JPL tournament in spring, avoiding any clash with the Asia Rugby Championship to close the season. Japan would also play in an expanded Rugby Championship in their autumn after 5 weeks of top league action. So the length of the domestic season is more comparable to Europe, with a format to ensure competitiveness improves quality, and an innovative new format to raise Japan's visibility on the world stage. Now, for the calendar rollout, I won't repeat in this part 2 what is covered in part 1 already for Southern Hemisphere. The previous country discussions already align with this calendar. Only Argentina's amateur torneos continue until November instead of finishing in July and August. So for Japan specifically, as they would be playing in the new 5-team Rugby Championship, the July start for the top league is ideal, and each year Japan would have a bye in week 1 while the other 4 Southern Hemisphere's sides play to give added preparation time. The June and November tours would switch around as discussed previously, and the top and challenge leagues would run their 18-game regular season with 1 break instead of 3, with semis and final or promotion playoffs in December. The 24-team Top League Cup would shift to January-February timing and could then be followed by an extension to the season with the JPL in spring, coinciding with the Asia Tri-Nations that Junior Japan would join instead of the senior team for more competitive matches with Korea and Hong Kong. Now, Japan's season break is shorter than the other regions, though the season timings here are actually more favourable than recent years, when Test Tours, Super Rugby, Top League Cup and Top League combined for a 12-month season, broken only by individual weeks here and there. Now there is a solid break in July, along with other mid-season breaks in December, March and May. Thank you for watching Southern Hemisphere and Asia Clubs Part 2. Sadly, I don't have a Pacific Islands page, though they are included in Part 1 for Super Rugby. Now, I invite you to watch the other videos looking at the global calendar overall, European Club Rugby and each region's Test Championships. Please share your feedback. Thanks for watching. And finally, please know these are all my own ideas and not connected to any official rugby organisation.